predicting the next the next 8 years of the U.S. electoral history. So we're first going to be, and this video is going to be pretty long, by possibly an hour and a half maybe. So we're going to be starting with the 2024 election, and we won't stop until the probably 2028 primaries, or if I feel like it, we'll go to the 2028 election. So first we're going to start off with 2024 election. We'll start off with safe states for Trump, which I believe will take Louisiana, Missouri, Alabama, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Kansas, North South Dakota, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, Utah safely. South and North Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, Indiana, and this is in Alaska. Now, safe states for Harris will be California, Oregon, Washington, Hawaii, Massachusetts, Delaware, Vermont, Maine, and Minnesota. Oh, and Illinois and Colorado. Why Trump likely is Texas, Florida, Ohio, Nevada, and then from then 2020 he lost Wisconsin by a very close low amount. Red Eagle, he leans Republican. He is Republican, doesn't even lean. Sometimes I watch his videos for this, and he's saying Wisconsin is actually gonna go red, which I wasn't surprised by all. But I feel like Kamala Harris' Rust Belt appeal can really help her. So some of these like swing counties. So I don't know. I can't see that happening. And then apparently he thinks Michigan's actually gonna go Kamala. So if we go to World Clear Polls, I don't know. Yeah, I just don't know if I believe that. Wow, I did not see this. This must have came out today. Harris, on average, up 0.2 votes in Arizona. Wow. But Trump is up Nevada. I don't believe Trump is actually. I can't imagine a world where he doesn't win North Carolina. That, I don't know. I can't see that. But I can see him barely winning North Carolina. I can't see him losing it. Why latest polls have said that Georgia is up for Trump. Yeah, 0.1. So if we go so I think Trump actually sneaks away with Georgia. And then let's see, Wisconsin. Where's Wisconsin in the latest voting? Pennsylvania is actually a tie, which I think without Kamala's right VP pick was actually kind of hurting. And I think Trump's gonna be able to barely sneak away with Pennsylvania. Then Kamala's gonna be able to win Michigan, because if we go back to here, Biden won it by a pretty good amount of lead back in 2020. And what's the shift? And it's been shifting to more Democratic over time, as we see from 2016 to 2020. And I think since Kamala Harris is young and so new, I do think Michigan's going to go back to the Democrats. Really, I believe that 2016 election was just a one-time thing where Trump was able to break the blue wall. And national trumps up, I believe, but that is Fox News. So they lean. I wouldn't be surprised if Harris ends up winning the popular vote, but and Trump wins the electoral college again, which honestly I wouldn't really like because I believe the candidate, you can't have an electoral college where the candidate that doesn't actually wins. But I don't believe that Harris is up by that much. I believe whoever wins national is only gonna do it by 1 or 2 points. Wisconsin. Here we go. Here we go. Wisconsin. Wisconsin is showing Harris up on average, and honestly, this is what I always believe, because Wisconsin is Phil's, and now that she has Waltz, who is a governor close to Wisconsin, I think she also ends up taking Wisconsin. She takes New York, and then she's able to take New Mexico and Arizona, which I can't. Whoever takes Arizona, it's gonna be close. It's gonna be close. Whoever takes Arizona does it by 1 point. Oh, did not mean to do that. And then I'm not too sure about the pools in Virginia, if they're. But uh, I believe it could go blue. I mean, Red Eagles says that it's gonna go blue, but he leans Republican too. He tends to believe that Trump's going to win more states than uh, the media says he's going to win. Which I'm not trying to call the media anything bad, but and then this guy, he's just a Kennedy supporter, and he seems to believe that Kennedy's going to eat up more of the base of Trump. So I could see Kennedy ends up eating some of the Trump people that would have voted for Trump, and then Virginia ends up going blue. And then yeah, and then Harris would end up winning. Oh, I did not mean to do that. I do think it would be a very close election, and that this could be subject to change. The Harris path to victory is Pennsylvania, but we do have to remember that there are more, because of the electoral college, smaller states are actually have more value because there's so many small states, and small states vote Republican. So Trump only has to worry about one swing state, two swing states, I believe. Wait, hold on. If let's say even if Harris wins Pennsylvania and Georgia, and Trump wins Wisconsin and Michigan, still wins. Let's say she takes that. Trump wins Georgia and Arizona. See, so Trump only needs two swing states. Why? Harris needs four. Yep. So I believe Trump will be the next president, but I wouldn't be surprised if Harris ends up winning. But in this, we're gonna say he ends up winning. And now for the Senate races, Democrats. I'm not gonna. Democrats. I think they'll be able to take Arizona, California, Washington. Probably take. I haven't really seen the polling. Um, let's see. Senate race polls. So yeah, Arizona. This guy seems to be doing amazing. He's up 5. I mean, Democrats are clearly going to win in Arizona. I am surprised that Democrats are up in Nevada, which is surprising to me. I'm not surprised about Pennsylvania because they have a very good Democratic Pennsylvania governor, and Wisconsin, Michigan. Yeah, so from how it's looking, the all the swing states are going to be voting um, Democratic. You see, we got Pennsylvania, and like everything, it seems to be going very well for the Democrats this Senate race. I wonder how is Virginia doing though? Any polls in Virginia? Hmm. Huh. I don't see any polls, but I want. But even if we go back here, Virginia was won by Joe Biden by a very large amount, and I think it will be won by Harris too, and it's gonna end up being won by the Democrats in the Senate election race too. I do think Republicans take Ohio, Indiana, West Virginia, Tennessee, Missouri, take Florida, Texas, um, both seats here, Indiana, Montana, Utah, while Democrats take Nevada, New Mexico, and Republicans will take this, while Democrats take Hawaii. And this is how I believe the Senate's gonna end up shaping up. Uh, yeah. And after this is where we really get into the wonky stuff. So this is the 2025 Senate races, I believe. Or is this? No, this is the 2024 governors. So here's my predictions for the governors: Indiana, West Virginia, Missouri, North Utah. What Democrats end up winning: Washington, Vermont, Delaware, New Hampshire. This is without any polling. I could be completely wrong, but this is how, just from the presidential polling, I believe it will turn out. Then this is the governors in 2025, which this is probably going to end up going blue and blue. You know, not much to it. Now, we are now on to the 2024, the 2028 Republican and Democratic primaries. So we will be going in order. So we'll start off with Iowa, which here. Let me bring up these. Oh, these 2020. Here we go. So now we are off to truly a alternate history where anything can really happen. Now, before we start off, these there will be a few people that drop out before the primaries even start. Like Ben Carson, I believe that he would drop out. I'm not too educated on his uh policies, but hold on, where is he from? Ben Carson, isn't he from Louisiana? Born. Ben, no, I don't know why I ever thought that. You know what? No, I know why I thought that. He was speaking at a like Louisiana event. But I believe uh, Ben Carson would drop out before political views. what does this dude believe? I don't know. We'll get back down that. Yes, in this reality, I believe that he would end up endorsing Ron DeSantis. So before the 2028 primaries even starts, he is out of it. I also believe Dan Schumann would also endorse Ron DeSantis and leave before it even starts. Tom Cotton would end up endorsing probably Mike Johnson and would leave before the primaries even start. Josh Holloway, he's from Missouri. Yeah. And before the primaries even start, I can see him endorsing somebody like. I'm not too sure on his political views. I'm really basing this off of geography. And I could see him endorsing probably Ted Cruz. And now, here we are to the candidates that are actually here to play. And Tim Scott should have dropped out, but he thinks he can surge from 8% to 2,000%. I'm just kidding. Honestly, I'm being dead serious. I wouldn't be surprised if Tim Scott ends up winning the 2028 Republican primaries for how pro-Trump he is. So I believe in Iowa, which, let's see. DeSantis was the second most voted for with Nikki Haley, and I don't believe there's a tax on any of these guys. Yes, we have to figure out where the Donald Trump supporters will go. I don't believe any of these votes would really go to Nikki Haley. I think these votes would be split between Ron DeSantis and Ramaswamy. Please forgive me, I've pronounced his name wrong or anybody's name wrong. I've really just been reading them, haven't been hearing people talk about them. And so I believe these votes would be split 3-way, 4-way between Ron DeSantis, Vivek, J.D. Vance, and Mike Pence. With this, I could see Mike Pence getting about 2 delegates with 5% the vote, and so does J.D. Vance. Mike Johnson does too. Nikki Haley would get about 17% the vote, where Ron DeSantis would get a good amount to vote, 25. But we also have to look at the 2016 election results, which actually voted for Cruz really well, 27% compared to Trump. So I could see about 17% for Cruz. With Kim Reynolds and being governor of Iowa, I think this gives her advantage in the Iowa caucuses and actually could possibly take away votes from Ron DeSantis and bring him down and let Ramaswamy win, as Kim Reynolds, governor of Iowa, is able to pull away some delegates. Which is, we don't have anybody drop out yet. Still too early to tell, and some of the more moderate Republicans are still projected to win something later on. So then after this, we go on to New Hampshire, I believe. Wait, hold on, let me check. Or is it Vermont that we goes to next? Yeah, New Hampshire. Vermont's on Super Tuesday. So we're now in New Hampshire, which if we look at the 2024 predictions, Nikki Haley actually did really good. But I believe like probably 20% of those votes were from never Trumpers that would have voted for somebody like Ron DeSantis or Vivek or Tim Scott. And then 2016, New Hampshire did vote for Trump a large amount. So you can see how like it's been swaying. So believe, and I feel like Vivek fills up that Trump spot in the political compass. I do believe this is where Tim Scott can get some votes. Ted Cruz did not do good in the 2016, so I think he gets around just a little bit more Then we have Ron DeSantis get about 27%, and Nikki Haley gets a little bit below Ron DeSantis. That's JD Vance, Liz, and Kim Reynolds all get a little bit too. Mike Pence and Mike Johnson not getting any delegates from this. Then we head on to Nevada, which in 2016 voted for Trump by a pretty large amount. And then if we go to 2024 and we go to Nevada, Trump won outrageously. So I feel like this is a state that Ramaswamy Vegas really does do good in, and so does Tim Scott, all the super pro-Trumpers. And somebody like Ted Cruz that was kind of against Trump in 2016 doesn't do as good. Same with Ron DeSantis, and this is one of the worst states for Nikki Haley. And where's JD? JD and Mike Johnson are able to get a little bit of the votes. And then after this point, this is where we have some people dropping out. We'll say recent polls come in saying stopping Mike Johnson from dropping out because he believes that he'll do a lot better in South Carolina than most of the other people. And this is where somebody like Mike Pence would drop out. I believe Mike Pence would drop out and then would end up endorsing Ron DeSantis, and then JD Vance, I believe, would drop out and support Ron DeSantis, with Liz dropping out. Somebody that's more of a moderate Republican from Wyoming would drop out and endorse Nikki Haley. And then Kim Reynolds would also drop out. I'm not too sure on her political beliefs. You know what? I wonder if she endorsed anybody. Kim Reynolds endorsements. Oh, she actually endorsed Ron DeSantis for president. Wow. So Kim Reynolds would end up endorsing Ron DeSantis for the presidency. I believe Tim Scott would end up endorsing Ramaswamy for president. So now I can't delete them to like make it easier for your y'all to see who's in and not, because if I delete them, then it puts their delegates up for toss-up. So yeah. So the people left in it are Nikki Haley, Ramaswamy, Mike Johnson, Ron DeSantis, Ted Cruz. As we go into South Carolina, we have South Carolina actually did pretty good for Nikki Haley in the primaries with 39%. So I'll put like a 10% tax, so 18% sounds realistic. And then Ramaswamy still filling up that Trump void. And then Ted Cruz. Really, did Ted Cruz do good in 2016? Oh. Not really. So I'll put like a little bit of a tax on him because I feel like some of his voters would end up going for Ron DeSantis. Tell me y'all toss up. I could see, since a lot of these like smaller candidates, since they've all dropped out, come behind somebody like Mike Johnson and really push him through and giving him a huge boost to his campaign. And also, since we're more southern and he was a very also pro-Trumper, I could see him splitting the pro-Trump vote between Vivek and him. Now, after these 4 states, we are on to Super Tuesday. We have Nikki Haley, Ramaswamy, Ron DeSantis, Ted Cruz, and Mike Johnson still in the race. where we were then now. Let's see. Hold on, let me guess. Every state that votes on Super Tuesday. So we'll start off with Alabama. Start with Alabama, which is pretty pro-Trump, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Trump destroyed Nikki Haley and back in Alabama. And then if we go to 2016, he won it even back then, 43% to only 21% of Ted Cruz. So Vivek and Ron DeSantis both do very good. And so does Mike Johnson now that we're in the South and he's from Louisiana. So that really does help his appeal. And then Nikki Haley gets probably about 10% of the vote. And then how many? And then Ted Cruz does good. Ron DeSantis and Vivek. And this state is split between Ron DeSantis and Vivek. With this, at this point, Mike Johnson sees the right, but hold on, let me rephrase that. So after Super Tuesday happens, Mike Johnson will see the writing on the wall and will probably drop out as he is watching this on the television. He's seeing this and making calls to his campaign funders. With this, the next state to vote is Alaska. Which wasn't Alaska, wasn't it? I remember seeing it and being surprised at how and then how did it vote in 2016? Voted for Cruz actually in 2016, 36% to 33% of Trump. So I could see something like that with Francois Way, Cruz. This is actually going to be the first state that Cruz ends up winning. Ron DeSantis. And then Nikki Haley only gets probably 10%, maybe more like 7% of the vote, with Ron DeSantis stealing part of the vote. Mike Johnson getting a small percentage of the vote from Alaska too. But this is the first state Ted Cruz is able to win, really jolting him up. We then have Arkansas vote. What's Arkansas? Nikki Haley did a lot better. And then we go to 2016. Trump did win it, but not by as big as a margin, only by 2.8%. So this would be a state that somebody, Ted Cruz, would do good in. Vivek would just, I believe, barely get beaten by Ted Cruz. And then Ron DeSantis would actually end up splitting the state with Ted Cruz. And then Nikki Haley would get about 7%. And Mike Johnson being one of his best states yet. Because he is from Louisiana and that pill really does end up helping him. We then go to California, which was actually very pro-Trump in the 2020 election. 2024 election with 17%. So I believe that's actually like really 10% are Nikki Haley supporters. Then another 6% were Ron DeSantis and Vivek supporters who were never Trumpers. So then I really somebody like Ron DeSantis and Francois Way both do good. And then how we do? 2016, Trump was able to win it by a nice amount. So I can see Ramaswamy Way comes out, and Ron DeSantis does pretty good. And then we have Mike Johnson doing all right, but not getting a very huge amount, maybe like 6% of the vote. And then Ted Cruz getting a nice percentage of the vote too. Hold on, everybody. I'll be right back. I have to fix my mic setup real quick. Technical difficulties. Alright, everybody, I am now back. Now, yes. Then what other states vote? Colorado would vote next, which went Ted Cruz back in 2016, and he won all of the delegates. He won Colorado pretty well. And then Nikki Haley also did good in Colorado. So she would get about 21%. This would be another win for Ted Cruz, and this actually is a win for somebody like Ron, and then Ramaswamy takes the rest of the Trump vote. Then the next state to vote would be Maine. Which, let's see, 25% for Nikki. And then in 2016, actually voted for Cruz by a pretty good amount. So I think Nikki Haley would get about 20% of the vote, Ted Cruz getting about 25%, and Ron DeSantis. This, I feel like, would actually be a win. Ron DeSantis' first full win on this campaign trail, and then possibly Mike getting like one. And then we would end up going to Massachusetts. Which how did they vote in 2016? They voted for Trump by a pretty large amount. Which was actually pretty pro Nikki. So I could see maybe Nikki shows out. Well, here's the thing. I don't think any of the Trump vote goes to Nikki. I think all of the votes that Nikki were going to get was in the 2024 primaries. Then I think this actually ends up becoming a win for Ramaswamy. actually tied between Ron because of Mike. We then see Minnesota go up, which if we go to this map, I believe Nikki Haley might have put up a fight. I'm not too sure. Yeah, she put up a small fight in Minnesota. Then Ruo actually won it back in 2016. So I could see possibly this being a big win for Ron DeSantis. Ted Cruz also does good. And then this is a state that Ramaswamy actually doesn't do good in. Then we go to North Carolina. Which would end up Nikki Haley put up a small fight. So I believe Haley would get about 17%. Ron DeSantis would get a good amount. And then how did they vote in 2016? They voted for Trump by how much? Cruz almost won, so could see this being a Cruz win this year with more people, more of a divided party, and then Ramaswamy comes here. Then we go to Oklahoma, which in 2024, how pro-Nikki were they? I guess not by much. Oh yeah, barely. So this is a state where I can see something like Mike getting about 10, 16, 13% the vote. Nikki Haley gets about 10. Ron DeSantis gets a good amount. But this is another state I feel goes for Ramaswamy. But Oklahoma did vote for Ted Cruz by a nice amount. So I see this going for Ted Cruz. I could see Oklahoma being one of the most divided states in the primaries. And then DeSantis barely holds on to a lead. Then we go to Tennessee, which 77 to 20% for Nikki. So I believe that little tax for Ron DeSantis and Vivek supporters that were never Trumpers, that brings her down 15%. And then this would be a win for Ron DeSantis, I feel. With Ramaswamy coming behind Ron DeSantis, I feel that there's this very eerie feeling about like the Trump era is over after Super Tuesday. Wait, what? We would then have Texas vote, which Texas has become more central in the political compass scale for Republicans lately. And so I do think Cruz actually will wind up with a sizable margin in Texas, falling Ron DeSantis second, Nikki Haley actually third. And then this is actually a very bad state for Ramaswamy that really puts Ron DeSantis up. And that actually puts Ted Cruz in contention because of Texas. Then we have Utah, which voted for Cruz, 69%, so very heavily Cruz. And then 42% for Nikki Haley. So we can see that this would also be another bad state for Ramaswamy. Being very disastrous for Ramaswamy, and we can see his campaign starts falling behind after these very pro-Trump states vote on Super Tuesday. Then we go to what's the next? Vermont. Where is Vermont? Vermont, right here. Which voted for Trump 32 to 30% in 2016, which but was actually the only state that Nikki Haley won in this election. And I do believe there's a little tax, but I feel like she still wins Vermont. So I'll let so I think Nikki Haley does come out pretty on top. I feel like it's more of a tie between Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley for Vermont. And if you hear anything in the background, I have like background noise background on. Documentary. But I'm pretty sure it's low enough to where y'all can't hear it, because I can't really hear it either. Virginia. Yeah, right here. And voted for Trump, but not by much. But Cruz did not do good there. So I don't think Cruz does good in this election either. And we go to Virginia. Nikki Haley did alright. She put up a fight. So I think Nikki Haley gets about 18. Ted Cruz gets 13, 12. I think Vermont is a Ron DeSantis win. And then we go to Virginia. Wait, Vermont. Wait, that wasn't Vermont. We already did Vermont. I was thinking about Virginia. But yeah, and then this is how the map looks after Super Tuesday. Was this? I believe that Nikki Haley would end up dropping out. I know after Super Tuesday, and she would end up endorsing Ron. Yeah, probably Ron DeSantis, and then Mike Johnson would end up dropping out and support Ron, and then Ted Cruz I feel would stay in. Ramaswamy, Ron DeSantis, and Ted Cruz all try to stay in. But yeah, and I know that there's like another like Super Tuesday a week after. Wait, hold on. Ah. So it looks like Hawaii votes next. Right. So Hawaii ends up voting next in this world where we now have Ron Sosway, Ted Cruz, and DeSantis fighting for the nominee, which went Trump, but not by much, in 2016. Then if we go here, oh, but okay, we do have to take into consideration that Nikki Haley voters probably didn't go out and vote because she had already dropped out by this point. So I do believe Ted Cruz does pretty good here. Ron DeSantis. But I think this is another win for Ted. Or a tie between Ted and Ron. And then after this, polls come out showing that Ron Sosway probably can't win. And Ron DeSantis makes a call by this point telling Ron Sosway, Vivek, hey, I'll let you be my VP or I'll make you a member of my new uh, institution if you drop out and endorse me. So that's what would happen. And now it's a battle between Ron DeSantis and Ted Cruz. What's this? This is right. What vote? So it went Hawaii. I don't know. This is rigged. We're just gonna say Florida votes next. And with this is just a complete blowout win for uh, Ron DeSantis, getting to 68%. And this really puts Ron DeSantis in the lead. And then after Florida, Ted Cruz decides to finally make his concession speech, basically saying, hey, I'm not going to win. And he then endorses Ron DeSantis for the Republican nominee. And life goes on. So now we will now be doing the 2028 Democratic primaries, which I'm not too sure how they vote. I'm pretty sure Democratic primary state voting order. There's an image that says when they vote. I'm so glad I found this. Oh my goodness, thank goodness. Okay. So Ron DeSantis. So we now have a clear and then Ron DeSantis and Ron Sway will be on the ballot. Ron. Wait, hold on. Let me look him up. Ron DeSantis. Then we still don't know the Democratic nominee. So we will now be going to this. So first state to vote would of course be Iowa. 2024. So if we go Iowa, huge Joe Biden support. Good. Well, I mean, he was the incumbent president, but we go back to 2020. Buttigieg actually ended up winning Iowa, but I believe Buttigieg's popularity greatly falls after the whole Ohio incident. So I believe somebody like Warner, who did good in Iowa and hasn't really had anything crazy happen to her, would actually do very good. So would Harris. I think Harris ends up pulling a slight majority. Dean Phillips from last year doing very good. We have Warner. And then I don't actually believe Tim Walz would actually end up running. We have Buttigieg getting a small percentage. We have Omar getting a small percentage. But we have Harris truly pulling out this election very, very close. And I believe most of these candidates just end up dropping out. So I believe Bloomberg will drop out. Most of these people would end up dropping out. Cory Booker, Jason Palmer. Wait, no. And Marina Williams would also take some. Then after that, we end up going to New Hampshire, of course, I believe. Yes. which was actually in favor of somebody more radical like Barney. So this actually ends up helping Harris. I think Harris does very well. Dean Phillips is like second. Somebody like Omar, who's more radical on the left. This is probably going to be the best state that she does. And Warner does very well. And Williams still some of the votes. And by this point, most people see the writing on the wall that this is going to be a race between Harris, Phillips, and Warner. So I believe Buttigieg would drop out, endorse Harris. Omar would drop out, endorse Harris. And then Williams would drop out and endorse I'm not too sure who she would endorse. I'm just going to say she endorses Harris. And then here comes Nevada, which was more in favor of a more radical government. So I think Harris actually ends up winning Nevada. And then we go South Carolina, which voted for Joe Biden by a very large amount. And then even if we go into 2024, we go South Carolina, Joe Biden won by a huge amount. But there is this whole thing around Harris that she can't be a Republican. And with this, Warner would end up dropping out and endorsing Kamala Harris by Super Tuesday. So now it's Super Tuesday day, and it's Dean Phillips versus Harris. And if Phillips doesn't come out on top on Super Tuesday, he'll end up endorsing Kamala Harris. So we'll start off with Minnesota, which would be very pro-Harris, with Harris coming out on top, and Phillips right behind her. Then we have New Hampshire, Vermont, that was in favor of Bernie, so she ends up winning over Dean Phillips there too. Then we have Colorado, which was also in favor of somebody more with a more radical left plan too. How much did Bernie win by? Well. But I do believe everybody else was more moderate, so this could end up being a Dean Phillips dub. But I believe it would end up being a split between Phillips and Harris. Then Utah, which voted for Bernie in very large amounts. So Harris, I believe, just ends up pulling out a win again. And with this, the writing's on the wall as Phillips watches this, as the votes come in, and he ends up calling Kamala Harris and congratulating her on becoming the Democratic nominee. With this, I believe over this time, Harris would just end up winning the Democratic nominee again, and the Democratic primaries are just very, very short. And she actually ends up taking Phillips for her partner. So we have Harris, Sess. / Phillips. And here we go. So by this point, we have Louisiana, Arkansas, all the safe Republican states still safe for DeSantis and Ramaswam's way. Then Harris and Phillips end up winning all the Pacific states, Hawaii, all of these, all the New England, most of New England, probably not, maybe, Minnesota safely, and so does DC and New York. Then DeSantis is able to take Ohio, Florida, Texas very easily, and Harris is able to take Illinois. They sweep out with Wisconsin, and they're able to take Michigan barely. This because of Phillips, Harris is able to take Pennsylvania, Colorado, and New Mexico. And then because Arizona likes to flip every other year, I could see Harris actually ends up taking Arizona. Then when she also takes Virginia and Vermont, as DeSantis takes New Hampshire in this area. And then I do believe that DeSantis would be able to win Georgia. And by this point, starting to come down pretty close. So Harris ends up winning this district and the rest of Maine. And I could see her winning Nevada, but then I believe DeSantis ends up winning all of Nevada, and that's going to be the key to his victory. And I believe this is how the Harris Phillips versus Ron DeSantis Ramaswam's way election map would look. Thank you all for watching, and peace out.